All right, we are live. Welcome to the Rabyd Atheist. I am your host, Ed Rabyd, former pastor turned atheist, now compassionate anti-theist. Welcome to my channel. Well, today I'm going to do a live reaction. I'm turning Saturdays into this kind of live reaction thing. And actually, today's is also blind. Today's video is titled, God Doesn't Owe You an Explanation. The proof is all around us. I guess I like doing these blind now because they're a lot more fun that way for me, because I like to play the game of, am I going to be able to tell what they're about to say next? And 90% of the time, I'm pretty much right. Every once in a while, they surprise me. But the arguments are always very, very much the same. So let's see, who do we got here? Blood Badger, welcome. Martin's here. And then we got Alex. Right. And there's a few more people filing in. Okay, Earl's here. All right. So, but we're going to, I'm doing this blind. I'm doing it live. Oh, Fred's here. Fred woke up late. Okay. Well, Fred does what he wants, I think. You do what you want, don't you, Fred? So, but let me add this guy to the stage, and I'm going to have to pause him and take it back. But this is Mr. Moss, who has done this video. This video says, God doesn't owe you an explanation. The proof of his existence is all around you, something to that effect. It's about a little over 5 minutes, somewhere in there. So, but reacting to these things always takes time because I like to pause it and deal with it. So, see who else we got here before I get going. Michael's here. All right. Good crowd tonight. A lot of my favorite people. So, all right. Let's get this guy rolling. Let's see what he has to say about why we shouldn't question God and that the proof of it is all around us. I am sure we won't have heard any of this stuff before.
Why should I believe in God? He hasn't done anything for me.
All right, I'm going to stop right there. It's all right. A more serious side to this thing is the hiddenness of God. Okay, the issue of whether God exists, okay, is largely the problem for the theist is he doesn't seem to actually demonstrate his own existence. The hiddenness of God has become a very real issue for a lot of people. A lot of people deconvert because they look at the claims of their faith, and then they look at, the fact that God doesn't seem to be anywhere. He's been the hide and seek champion for thousands of years. And they get into a point where, yes, people do ask the question, why should I give God anything? Because he hasn't really done anything for me. And so it's kind of one of those things where, he's starting out with probably one of the most common questions that leads to deconversion, which is, if God is real, would you please demonstrate yourself as real? And I don't, so he's off to the start with a legitimate question. Let's see if he gives a legitimate answer.
If he's real, let him show me. How many times have you heard or even thought this yourself?
Many times. Okay. I grew up in a Pentecostal church. So one of the things that bugged me was trying to find a real legit miracle that I could prove, like trying to find, when you'd investigate the miracles, there were tons of alternative explanations. I had a pastor friend we used to joke about. I worked for him for a while, and he was like, Ed, we pray for somebody who has a cold 3 days later, they get better. We don't pray for them 3 days they get better. I'm not really sure that's proof of a miracle. It's like, and that was my frustration as well, is because once you get pass all these proofs of a miracle, it just wasn't there, Yeah, that's kind of the other problem with this part at this point is God doesn't really do anything on his half of the relationship, does he? It seems like all the work is left to us. We're here, when I was, in the faith, I always felt like I was the guy that always had to put myself in a position to hear from God. I was the one that had to do the worship. I was the one that had to do all these things in order to hear from God. And it didn't seem like God was doing that much back the other direction in the relationship. So there was that aspect of it. So it was one of those things. Let's see. Why should I believe in God? I shouldn't. I should seek convincing for any important proposition and cannot find it. I should refrain pending other further information, which is one of the big problems for people that believe in God. Yeah, it's once you realize that it's a pretend relationship. This is a very big deconversion issue for a lot of people as they lose their best friend, but their best friend is really something they created themselves. So now we're just going through a video. This guy says that we should stop asking God to prove himself. So we haven't got that to that point. So imagine I'm quite. Oh yeah. So there's that. If I was all powerful, that's a valid point. Oh man. All right. Well, he's laid out the question. Let's see what he does for an answer.
Today we're diving into the dangerous mindset of expecting God to prove himself to us anything, and he's already left more proof of his existence than we could ever imagine.
All right. Whoa. Back up. Okay, we're going into supposedly dangerous territory to question the existence of God. Now, I got to deal with that. Am I not correct in assuming that if we're postulating this God, he's omnipotent and omniscient? So, why would any question bother an omniscient God who is completely secure in his own power? Why? You would? This whole objection is based on fear. Like if they're afraid that if you ask the right questions, that somehow this is going to upset your faith. But it's like, why would an omnipotent, omniscient, omnipresent God worry about anybody questioning him or her or whatever? It's like, why would that happen? That doesn't make any sense to me. It's a real good propagandist tool, and religion likes to do this a lot of don't question it, just believe it. And this is kind of where we're heading already. This is a blind reaction, so I don't know where he's specifically going, but I'm already having trouble with the idea of not questioning and this being dangerous territory to question God, because if God is all that, he wouldn't mind any questioning. Why would he? If he wants this genuine relationship with me, why wouldn't he want me to question certain things about it? So I don't know. I'm beginning to color me skeptical, but I feel like we're going to head down the design route as a way of we're no longer allowed to question God because the evidence for his existence is all around us. Yes, Mr. Bigfoot doesn't owe you proof. I mean, that's kind of the thing. God equals the square root of -1. Beautiful name, by the way. If I did this, I could do this with any other god, couldn't I? I mean, I could say Odin doesn't owe you proof. The evidence of Odin is all around you. I mean, if I started talking that way, these very people making this argument would say, oh, but that's different. Oh, I'd be like, how is it different? So I don't know. I really find it interesting that these people make these arguments and don't realize that you could substitute any god into their spot or any other like mythical being or monster or whatever. And if I made the same arguments, I'd sound ridiculous. But somehow with God, this doesn't sound ridiculous to them. I guess I never felt that way as a theist. Like if I could make an argument and it could apply to something else and equally prove something else, then I would discard it because you have to make an argument that proves your particular God is the one that actually exists. Okay. It's like, you can't just make an argument that allows you to take any imaginary being and turn them into reality. That doesn't prove anything. It's weird listening from a different perspective. So used to help me support with the evidence for God. Yeah, it is weird once you get on the other side, because once you start, it's like I said, once you see behind the curtain and see the man pulling the levers, the great and powerful Oz isn't a wizard anymore. Okay, and that's kind of what happens with your belief in God too. And so when you hear the people saying how great the Wizard of Oz is, you're like, well, no, I kind of saw the guy. It's like, it's that. Yeah. So I don't know. Well, but let's continue. We'll see what this.
Let's get real. This mindset comes from a place of pride. It's the ego that says, God, you're on trial here.
Whoa. Nobody's putting God on trial. Okay, I don't know where that logical leap came from. We're simply saying, okay, if I'm in a relationship with somebody, I want to know that they're real. Okay, I want to know that they have demonstrably proven themselves. I mean, catfishing is real. If I get on the internet and find somebody that wants to date me and seems all a little bit too perfect for me, I have to ask some questions at that point. It's like, this isn't a pride issue. Okay, that's kind of an assumption on your part that these people are asking that question from a position of pride. I wouldn't say that. You're talking about a long-term relationship that's going to affect the rest of your life for a long period of time, maybe the rest of your life. Okay, if you decide to stick with it, it seems reasonable to me that you would ask some simple questions like, does this person I'm about to enter into a relationship actually exist? It seems like a pretty valid, normal question that doesn't come from pride at all. So I don't understand this point of view that sits there and says that it's automatically pride. That's a Christian assumption that people ask these questions out of pride. It's like a pre-supper kind of assumption. So I don't understand why asking the simple question of why, God, do you remain hidden? Why aren't you showing yourself real? Why is this such a hard question for God to answer? Okay. You're like saying, don't question it because you're just showing your pride. Well, that's an answer that only really works with people who already believe, but it doesn't work with me as an atheist, because I'll look at you as, my motivation isn't pride, it's genuine concern for the truth. Okay. And so demonstrate to me the truthness of God's existence. Okay. I think he's probably going to get there based on the rest of the title, but you're already kind of poisoning the well against your audience, saying that if I even ask this question, then I'm just being prideful. Okay. Well, you don't know that. Yeah. You don't know that. Yeah, I get it. For those of you who are never believers, this stuff is kind of nonsense from the get-go. But for those of us that are indoctrinated in the past and came out of it, it still has a real pull on us because of the psychological indoctrination. Came to look, just so you're saying you were in a relationship and I was already most tough. I'm glad I waited for a moment. Yeah, I mean. How's it going? To Bonner, just wanted to say thanks, Punk. Appreciate it. Oh, let's see. Anne is here. Yes, I need proofs for things that sound too good to be true. Thank you. Yeah, this is, I think, what his problem is already out the gate, that he doesn't understand that question is valid against any God or any belief claim. He doesn't want. it's very typical of believers to want to put this special pleading box. I mean, it's the heart and soul of presuppositional apologetics. They want to put this little box around their beliefs and say you can't attack that. And it's like, well, why not? What are you so insecure about? And if your God is real, it can take the same questions we ask about every other God and actually prove themselves instead of these other ones. But yeah, I mean, yeah, good luck. After 30 years of Pentecostalism, I was still waiting. Yeah. See, like Michael's never a believer, so this stuff doesn't get to him as much. It's more fun for him. So, yeah, we have to learn to not be duped by religions. And this is part of the mindset of religions, which is don't question anything, just believe. And that's the first thing you have to discard when you become a non-believer. Is skepticism is actually a very, very good thing. Hey, apostate sisters, welcome. That's a good question. Okay, when you read the book, and if it's the God of the Bible, I'm not really sure that that's a really good. You're supposed to fear him and love him at the same time. That's kind of the essence of an abusive relationship, where you're forced to love somebody. He's an abusive spouse at that point. So, abusive partner. He has pretty eyes, I suppose. Yeah, it is the psycho God problem. But let's see where he goes with this.
Convince me you're worth believing in. But the Bible tells us the truth. Who are you, a human being, to talk back to God and state?
Who am I as a human being to talk back to God? Why is God so insecure that he fears being talked back to? Okay, why is he, and I hate to say this, but several characters of scriptures did talk back to God and got away with it. Okay, that's one of the inconsistencies of the Bible is you have people in it who openly challenge God and get God to change his mind, unless, God doesn't change his mind. Well, then the text is lying. Okay, so, I mean, you're sitting there talking about the Bible. Well, if you're trying to reach an atheist, okay, a little tip for those of you evangelizing to atheists, we don't buy your book. Okay, you have to even prove your book is the word of God to begin with. And I've studied it so much, I know it's a very human, a very edited thing. So I'm already, if you're sitting here with this video, and I already see that this is not designed to actually reach people that don't believe in God or actually have this question. You're targeting people that are already in the church and trying to keep them in there. Okay, you're assuming they believe the Bible, because as an atheist, I don't. You're assuming that God somehow is insecure about himself to the point where you shouldn't ask him questions. Only a person that's insecure and so egotistical about themselves would demand that you never ask questions about them. Okay. Most people who are secure in themselves don't mind you asking them questions about themselves. They'll give you good answers, but somehow God missed that basic, human thing where you can be questioned and people can give good answers for themselves. It seems like an omniscient God would have good answers for himself. Don't talk back to God is really the don't talk back to your abusive parent. Okay. That's, we should say things that an abusive parent would say. Don't talk back to me, is one of them. Okay. You have to really be careful. When I was parenting, I was like, I never, even as a Christian, I was never this one because I said so. I would always give my reasons for telling my kids what they needed to do. And I think it's really funny. It's funny to me that every religion seems to have this element of don't question it, just believe it. And here we are again with the Christians going, hey, you really shouldn't be questioning God. So there's that. Yeah, you got to be David and screw around because he got away with it. I mean, literally, it's about who you know. Okay, in the case of God. Yeah, always welcome. All right, well, let's see where he goes. Okay, he's about to quote Romans, so buckle up.
In Romans chapter 9, verse 20. Imagine standing before the creator of the universe and demanding that he entertain us with.
Whoa. I'm not demanding that he entertain me with shit. Okay, this is another. See, this is why you shouldn't quote the Bible to atheists, because they question the very words of it. And I think I know which verse you're dealing with. I'm not asking God to entertain me with miracles. I can already see what you're going to say. So I'm asking God to demonstrate his reality. Okay. So that I can know that I'm actually in a relationship with an actual person. Okay. That I demand, some sort of evidence that the person I'm supposed to enter into this long-term lifetime relationship actually exists. I would like to have that. Thank you very much. And so he doesn't even, he's not even really dealing with it. He's just quoting Bible verses and making assumptions about why people ask the original question. That God doesn't do anything. He seems to be the hide and seek champion. How dare we? It's like, this is an argument for somebody who already believes. This is not an argument for somebody that doesn't believe. Okay, so if you're going to book your video as something that's going to convince people to believe, which, the title of this is, quit demanding God demonstrate himself, the evidence is all around us. It's like you're already on the wrong foot with this type of, as somebody who used to be a minister, I would have yelled at you for this, because you're making a lot of assumptions about why people are asking the question, and you haven't even demonstrated that that's the reality. So it's that kind of issue about it. So yeah, that I'm at that point too, Michael. It's like you're asking me to envision something that I don't think is reality either. So once you understand that, like, as an atheist doesn't accept that reality, maybe you need to like prove that that's actually going to happen. Like, I'm actually going to stand before a throne. I mean, demonstrate to me the existence of said heavenly throne with God on it, for me to start even considering your argument here. It's like they always want to jump ahead and just assume certain things are true. So, yeah, he's not direct about it. Maybe Jesus is shy. Yeah, I suppose that. Yeah, me too. Me too. Uh, I, I don't know. Yeah, the pitcher doesn't have any shoes in heaven. I mean, you're walking on clouds all the time. Do you need shoes to walk on clouds? Apparently not. So, but yes, yeah, if God wants to get into a relationship with me, I have conditions. Yes, there are atheist Jews, believe it or not, because to them it's more like a cultural identity than it is any real belief anymore. I've always found that interesting about Israel, because everybody gets down on Israel because it's a religious thing, but there are more secular people in Israel than a lot of other countries in the world. So it's not as religious as some of the other ones around it. So that whole mess is a mess. But this guy, he's basically asking me to assume a lot of things are true without proving or demonstrating any of them are true. Okay, like, let's start with the existence of God. Why? He's saying, don't question the existence of God, just assume it. Well, no, I'm not going to do that. And he just doesn't want to deal with that. So, but let's see where he goes.
Miracles as if he's some performer on stage. That's the.
Once again, it's not that he's a performer on stage. It's, I'm about to enter into a long-term relationship with somebody. I would like some evidence of their existence. I don't want to be catfished. Okay. I don't want some person on the internet pretending to be God. I think the analogy is good there. I'm just asking for a demonstration, an actual demonstration of love. I'm actually asking for a demonstration, because I don't think nailing your own kid to a tree is a really good demonstration of love. I mean, I'm looking for an actual, reality of it. When I show up at Jesus's house, he actually has a beard and long hair. Instead, he's got short hair and no beard and has tattoos across his face. That's not exactly what I was looking for. So it's not about, he's about to say it's about the ego. It's not about the ego. It's about basic information about a person so that I can have a relationship with them. It's like, I don't get that. Salvation from what? All the imaginary things that Christianity says I'm supposed to be saved from that are imaginary? No thanks. Yeah, streets are paved with gold. I guess there's that aspect of it, but the perfect body doesn't wear out, so it doesn't get damaged. So maybe what kind of city would you build if people couldn't get hurt? So yeah, I agree. It's not a secular state, but there's a lot of secular people in it. I have high hopes for Israel being a secular nation in about 20 years. So, but yeah, this isn't about my ego. This is about basics. Imagine Jesus, where is this? I finally saw that. Thanks. That's hilarious. Yeah, I mean, I'm looking for a girl and it's a guy pretending to be a girl. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Is Jesus catfishing me? Probably. So at least with all the ways people describe Jesus, it seems kind of weird. So
Ego speaking loud and clear. Let's pause.
No. It's not ego speaking loud and clear. It's just my desire for information about somebody I'm about to enter in a relationship with. That's perfectly reasonable. If you're making this claim that I have to have this relationship with this God, then I want proof that A, they exist, and B, they have good character. And if we're going to talk about Yahweh, the good character part is kind of in question, like big time. So, oh, there you go. I can see it. Gets killed every time. Yeah, that's probably true. He's not a very sexy God. Not really. The sexy God with Astra, his former consort, she was the sexy one. And well, the Jews done away with that. So that tells you what they think about all that. So
Pause and look at the world around us. God's fingerprints are everywhere.
oh boy. So okay. So I shouldn't ask God for evidence, but then you're going to try to give me evidence for his existence. But I thought if I gave God evidence, that's an evidence of my ego and my pride talking. So isn't this kind of you doing a flip where you're saying that I shouldn't even ask the question, and you're not giving very good reasons why I shouldn't ask the question, but now you're going to literally break your own idea and try to give me some evidence. And I expect look at the trees, the design argument and all that crap. God's fingerprints are everywhere. If God actually had fingerprints, that would actually be helpful because we could put them on file and then we could see where he was actually building stuff because his fingerprints are on it. Okay. Yeah. It's like that is see, Fred's got it. It's like that is a claim with no evidence because if God's fingerprints are everywhere, and I know he's speaking metaphorically, but it's still like if God had something like fingerprints, wouldn't we be able to identify that and say, oh, yeah, this is evidence of divine creation? So I don't know. They're there at the subatomic level. Well, that's very convenient that they're at the subatomic level. Subatoms. All right. All right. But, you just threw out a big assumption there and kind of went against yourself of, you're now going to provide proof for God's existence, but you think it's arrogant and ego and prideful to ask for that proof? Come on, man. What are you? Oh my God. Okay. So it's my ego, but not, yeah. Okay. All right. Fair enough. That's kind of the way apologists run anyway. It's like, it's always my ego. They never really admit that yeah, dumb in design. Yes. Very dumb design. Existence is only evidence of existence. That's it. Okay, there we go. Yep. Well, let's see what he does. Let's see what proof that we get here.
From the vastness of the stars in the night sky to the intricate design of a single flower.
Assumption of design. I've been getting this a lot from the pre-suppers that try to drive by my channel, and they do drive-by comments and shit like that. And it's this argument of, give me an example of something that isn't, everything, give me an example of something that isn't designed. And I feel like I'm walking into a trap every time they do that. But it's like anything that human beings don't make and design, is undesigned. Okay, there's certain creatures that also design things like nests, and they use tools and things like that. They'll build things, like a beaver in a dam, call that designed or instinct or whatever. But everything outside of that is undesigned. Okay, design is a very human idea. Okay, and that doesn't speak to me of design. Now you got to prove it's designed. Okay, you got to prove that God made this. Okay, and I just get, I'm basically saying, well, anything that human beings and certain animals don't do is undesigned. It's just not designed. And at that point, what's the pre-supper going to say to me? Well, you just don't see it. It's like, no. If you want to prove that's, I don't see that it's designed. When something's designed, I can actually see people working on it, okay, and building it. There's probably some schematic on file somewhere. It has the design maker's name on it. Okay, there's a process that I can observe. Okay, when I look at a flower coming up, I don't see God there, putting each molecule in place. You see, that you're saying that invisible process is somehow God, and you haven't demonstrated that that's the case. So this is the problem with the design. Nature, by definition, it's not designed, because when you make the watchmaker argument, you have the watch in comparison to the undesigned nature. That's how you know it's designed. But then in the middle of the argument, they want to flip it and make nature designed, okay, which is proof of a designer. So it's like they make this logical leap that changes a premise from nature is not designed to nature is designed without justifying the shift. And that's why the argument from design fails from a logical point of view. So because it's, they're defining it as undesigned to compare it to the watch. And now you got me telling me this is all designed, but it's like, no, there's a very natural process by which, there's, evolution by which differences of species have come about. One of the things that was an ultimate struggle for me in my deconversion was how much damn evidence there is for evolution. There's like a crap ton. Okay. It's not an unproven assertion. And so it's like, give me an example of a flower actually being designed by God, him putting his name on the schematics, filing at a thing, and then building the thing, showing him actually using his hands to build the flower. Okay, that's how I know something's designed as compared to undesigned. And I just don't see trees, flowers, grass, animals, a whole bunch of things are just not designed because you just don't have the same qualities. Yeah, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Design is, it's like, I don't know. No, I don't. Yeah, look at a grain of sand would be just as strong. Yeah, which is no strength at all. Yeah, it's natural selection. I mean, I get it. And that's what I'm talking about. It's like you don't have to have design to have things come about. And that's something that people see. You want to talk about human ego. It's human ego that makes things and designs things and then turns around to nature and says, well, everything must be designed then because I've done this wonderful thing and these are all wonderful things. So, you want to talk about human ego interpreting something else as being like humans. This is a classic example of creating God in our image. Is we're designers and builders, so therefore God has to be a designer and builder too. How is this a tell when it serves no purpose? Yeah, because we don't eat tree pulp anymore. Yeah. Yeah, use animals. So, yeah. And by the way, welcome. All right, well, let's see. I have a feeling that this is going to be one thing after another that's supposedly designed. So we'll see how far we get.
Creation screams of God's existence. The heavens declare the glory of God. The skies proclaim the work of his hands.
Yes, this is what the psalmist says. And guess what? Those are all claims. Do you have any evidence of those claims? Does God actually provide evidence for those claims? Because as far as I can tell, that's an assumption and it's a claim. Do you have any data to support that? Do you have any evidence to support that? Do you have good evidence to support that? Okay, that's the claim. That's a claim doesn't constitute proof. Okay, yes, I know what the Psalms say. I know what David waxed poetic on this a lot. But David was an ancient king, if he existed at all, and he didn't know better. Okay, he just didn't know what we know today. And yeah, so yes, there's the other problem. Human ego loves you and not other people. Yep. Another egotistical trip.
As stated in Psalm chapter 19, verse 1.
Okay. Do I have to say it again? I don't give a shit what's in the Bible anymore. Can you demonstrate that this is designed without just quoting the Bible? That's my question.
Think about the human body, the way your heart beats without you thinking, the way a baby is formed in the womb, and the complexity of DNA.
And the absolute shit design of the human body too. Okay. I mean, I'm sorry. You're pulling out reproduction here. I am fairly certain that every woman in the room could come up with a better way that reproduction could work. Okay. I'm very, very skeptical of somebody that wants to use childbirth and human design as evidence of good design. Okay. If it's such good design, why does it have so many flaws? It's like, yeah, we claim to know. Oh, I'm reacting to a theist saying that, the evidence is all around us for the existence of God. And it's only our ego that does that. The complexity of DNA. You also have to deal with the fact that a lot of DNA is shit. It doesn't do anything. That's one of the things that they've discovered about DNA is there's a lot of it that indicates that evolution is true. There's a lot of trial and error in DNA. It's just chemistry doing chemical things in the right conditions. So there's that. No, it's not. If it was, it would explain a lot. But here's the thing. I have noticed that presuppositionalist apologists is starting to appear in mainstream apologists. It didn't used to, but it's becoming more and more popular. And I have a theory about that. So it's, to me, you hold on to faith for emotional reasons. And so you protect those emotional reasons. Well, some of the emotional reasons that people believe now are these various theistic apologetics arguments for God are very much an appeal to intuition and emotion. So if you presup them all and protect them all, you just wrap that all around it, you can protect it. And so a lot of apologists are taking this angle now, and it's an emotional protection of their sacred beliefs. So, but I wish it was Jim Bob because it would explain a lot, but no, it's another dude. No, it's not. So, there's other people besides Jim Bob that do this, by the way. There's lots of them. Christian apologists are a dime a dozen. So
these are no accidents. These are intentional works of a loving creator.
Another claim without evidence. No, the result of evolution. And I'm fairly certain that, once again, if you look at the design of the human body, there's a lot of things that are wrong with it. Okay. They scream evolution. They don't scream a perfect creation of a perfect creator. There's a lot of flaws with human design. If it's designed, it makes a hell of a lot more sense if it's evolved. So, and I think you bringing up reproduction is hilarious because, every atheist woman I've ever talked to, I think, has told me, yeah, if that's design, that's shit design. So it's kind of that way. So Fun fact: the arteries in the heart is contracted. That's not designed. No, that wouldn't be good design. He's absolutely right. It wouldn't be good design if you did that. Oh, I'm backing off. Yeah. Yeah, good. That's good on you. I think it's like we talked about before. Yes, that's not evidence or evidence, sir. Yeah, he's not making any argument or evidence. He's not. He's just making a claim. That's all they ever do. But yeah, where's the apologizer who created for that? Brilliantly stated. Brilliantly stated. Yes, hemorrhoids, great design. There's a lot of things about the human body that if it's designed, God is a shit designer. Okay, he's absolute shit.
Yet for many, that's not enough. They want something more, something spectacular, something undeniable. But here's the truth.
Okay, whoa. It's not that I want something spectacular, undesigned. That you just gave something that has many alternative explanations to it and doesn't just follow your explanation. You're absolutely, your ego is absolutely engaged there in thinking that is the only explanation is it's a creator. Okay, when other people can give you naturalistic, stuff that absolutely explains it and does it with more data, evidence, repeatability, all that stuff, that's not us being egotistical. It's you being egotistical, thinking that's the only answer. There's other answers out there, dude. Okay, that you have to engage if you're going to engage in apologetics correctly. I'm trying to, I'm always giving advice to apologists, but one of the things I would advise you on is watch your own ego. Okay, you're thinking that you can only explain it this way, so therefore it has to be true. And you can't see the other alternatives. Well, that doesn't mean that yours is true. That just means you're having a problem seeing alternatives. Okay, that's your ego. That's your incredulity. It's like, I can't understand this, so therefore it must be wrong. No, that just doesn't work for me. So, yeah, there is an arrogance to it. We're created in his image. That's a great way. Like if you believe a certain religion, that's a great way to boost your own ego and add some exclusivity to your religion. But, it's kind of the way it goes with most apologists. No problem. Okay. Oh.
No amount of evidence will convince a hardened heart that refuses to see.
And no evidence will convince a theist who is absolutely committed to his, bias either. I mean, I could literally show this person the evidence for evolution, that human beings aren't designed, all this other stuff that would, push back against that idea, and he wouldn't see it either. There's a lot of projection in apologists, and this is one of the things they project on atheists and people who don't believe a lot, is it's just our hardened heart, or we just don't want to see it, or whatever. And yet there's a whole bunch of things, so it's that kind of thing, it's just, I don't understand how you can make statements like this and then not see your own incredulity about it and your own ego about it. Okay. Hey, thanks, Fred. Appreciate it. I think Alex got that one. So congratulations, Alex. You're a member of the channel. Thanks to Fred. Thanks, Fred. Appreciate it. Yeah, it is arrogance to think it's designed for us. Yeah, it's a lot of their confirmation bias coming out, and that's it's just hard. It's just hard to deal with anymore.
The ultimate proof of God's love and existence isn't in the miracles we demand. It's in the miracle he already performed. God came down as a man in Jesus Christ. He walked this earth, healed the sick, raised the dead, and taught the truth of salvation. And when humanity rejected him, he willingly went to the cross to die for our sins.
It makes him a chump. Okay, that doesn't make him a very intelligent person. And once again, this is all claims without evidence. No, I do not accept the Gospels as evidence. They don't tell me who they're written by. They don't tell me where the stories come from. As far as I know, the Gospels writers made it all up. Okay, and that was one thing as a theist, I tried to disprove that they made it all up, but I couldn't do it. Uh, it's like, how do you know that? Okay, you know it because the Bible tells you so, but the Bible isn't based on any historical other works. There's no other historical works that just say what you said. Okay, um, maybe you could get the existence of Jesus of Nazareth as a real person, but holy hell, what they did to him. Yeah, it's like you know, this isn't a demonstration of love either. Okay, I mean a demonstration of genuine love. Okay, the problem I have with the crucifixion of Jesus and the resurrection, well, I'll get to that when it gets to the resurrection, yes, but it's the whole, he's just rattling off, this is the ultimate demonstration of his love, this is the proof of his existence. And it's like, you do realize that the entirety of the Gospels is questionable. Okay, like we literally on a scholarly level question whether any of the events in the Gospels even took place, because there's no written author that says they wrote the book, so we can't corroborate who they were with history. And then each of the stories in the Gospels, just I do this every other week with questionable witnesses these days as I'm going through the life of Christ. It's I don't understand it. Okay, I don't understand it. Well, here's the thing. The Bible also says God hardens who He hardens, and there literally is a good case for hyper Calvinism that the people are unsaved or because God wants them unsaved. And there's also a case to be made that people that are saved are made that way because God wants them to be saved. So God is picking and choosing before the foundation of the world, according to Calvinists. So mercy is kind of, Calvinists talk about mercy, but it's irrelevant. So it's like, it doesn't matter. Okay, mercy doesn't matter because he's going to show mercy to who he wants and judgment to who he wants, depending on his mood, I guess, at the time of creation. Oh, thank you, Erroneous Theory. I appreciate that. So, yeah, and that's the other question. Did Jesus go willingly? Okay, I mean, I guess the Garden of Gethsemane would say it's yes, but, he's still looking for a way out at that point. So they're evolved, and we have demonstrated how they've been evolved. So, I mean, I'm sorry, the evidence for evolution is overwhelming. Most people just don't want to go look at it that are theists. So, yeah, I don't know. Were you there? Were you there at the cross? No, you're just believing somebody. Yeah, Jesus is arrested. That doesn't sound willing. Yeah, I suppose that's true. I don't know why. Superstition, and as an atheist, I reject all superstitions. So, might want to do better with your apologetics. It's not working for me. So,
But God demonstrates His own love for us in this: while we were still sinners, Christ died for us, as stated in Romans chapter 5.
yes, it does say that, but demonstrate to me that we were actually sinners. Okay, that is a claim by the church. Okay, and it all starts with, this is what broke down theology and faith for me in Christianity, is this whole idea. Okay, the whole idea behind the Gospels is just nonsensical. Okay, God sends his son to die for us to appease the sin in himself. He crucifies himself to himself in order to appease the wrath that he himself has for the rules that he created, and then creating a human being that couldn't escape that. I'm sorry, it's the most nonsensical thing. And the whole idea of sin's existence is purely for the Bible tells you so, or any other, religion that says sin exists. They make it up. It's a made up problem with a made up solution in Jesus. Okay. So, I mean, I don't get that argument, because the gospel itself is very, very nonsensical. Okay. In the way it's presented, even in the Bible, and it's inconsistent in the Bible. So here we go. Romans 5.
Verse 8. What more do we need? What more could we ask for than a God who sacrificed himself for the
proof that he actually sacrificed himself? I mean, the best you have, even with the Gospels, is that Jesus sacrificed himself. Do you actually have God sacrificing himself? Because that's a debatable point among people. I mean, the JWs don't have Jesus as God. Other groups of people don't think Jesus was God. You're making a very large claim there that Jesus was God and sacrificed himself. I don't know that that's necessarily true. Okay. You haven't demonstrated that at all. Okay. It's a very large claim that Christianity has that Jesus was God. But, the resurrection doesn't prove that, because there was a zombie horde of resurrected people at the time of his death. What does their resurrection prove about them? Jesus reportedly raised 3 people from the dead. It seems like resurrection was very common. So how does his specific resurrection prove that he was the Son of God? In what way is it different than them? And well, then that goes to another claim. Well, he was sinless. It's like, you got any proof of that? Did you watch every waking moment of Jesus's life to know that he was sinless? It's a claim, okay, and it doesn't have any evidence for it. So I don't get it. Let's see, what's chat going? Yes, story, claim, assertion. That's exactly. Yes, we know it. We have a good understanding. I'm an atheist. Most of the people that attend my channel are also ex-Christians. It's kind of the theme of my channel, helping people who are deconverting from Christianity in particular, but any religion will do. Probably because I didn't have paint. Okay. Yeah, we're all, there's a lot of us who are also ex-Christians. We're anti-theist. I'm an anti-theist, a compassionate one, because I understand what it's like to be duped. So a lot of people that come here are never Christians, but they like what I do. I mean, I'm just talking real about why this doesn't convince me anymore. And this guy I'm reacting to today, blind and live, he's doing every trope of the Christian. Okay, so it's like, he's giving me evidence of the sacrifice of Jesus, but I don't accept the Bible as evidence as an atheist. And this is one of the things that really bothers me about apologetics like this, is like, you don't even bother to understand the atheist and how they're going to object in order to overcome those objections. You just keep asserting what you think is true. I've always found, yeah, Michael Wolff's a natural born atheist. Ed needs hope. Yeah, Ed needs help. I always need help. Hey, BS. Had fun yesterday. Thanks for inviting me. Oh, we're reacting to this guy that says that we shouldn't demand God prove his existence because the evidence is all around us. So we shouldn't do it because that's our ego and pride. But then he's trying to give us evidence of God's existence. So, apparently it's okay for him, but not for us. So yeah, there's a few non-Christians, ex-Christians here. So I have a very diverse past, place. Yeah. Okay. Fred did it better than I did. I'll give Fred that. So, all right, let's keep going. We're never going to get through this. We're only halfway done.
very people who doubted him? Yet even then some said, if you're really the Son of God, come down from the cross, as stated in Matthew chapter 27, verse 40. Their hearts were blind to the greatest miracle happening right before their eyes.
Or it didn't really look like a miracle if it happened. It's like, did you ever think that from their perspective, because even your own book says that Jesus was just ordinary looking and ordinary whatever. I don't know what you're getting into at that point. I don't know. I don't get it. That's not proof. It's a claim. There's a difference between proof and claims. And it's one of the biggest things that theists don't get, is the difference between claims and proof. Isaiah 46 is a claim, and it's a claim that it connects with Jesus, and not a very good one. Yeah. One of the biggest problems with that story is the only person who tells the truth in the entire story is actually the serpent. So everybody else lies, including God. So there's that. There's that. But yeah, that's one of the things I noted in that story is that the serpent is the only one that tells the truth.
Here's a hard truth. God isn't in the business of performing for us. He's not some.
I'm not asking him to perform. I'm asking him to, he wants according to you people, he wants a long-term relationship with me. I guess I demand better evidence than what I would get on an internet profile, okay, by somebody who says that they exist and want a relationship with me. Okay, and that's what I have with God. I have less evidence of who he is and what he wants than an internet profile on a dating site. Okay, you want this long term where I give up my life, give up my time, my opportunities, all that stuff. And yet somehow I'm not asking him to perform miracles. I'm asking him to give me evidence of his existence and his intentions. And if you say the Bible, well, then I don't want that God. He's kind of a psychopath. Okay, so I just don't. I don't have that. I don't have that. So I guess that's a problem. You have to use your name in vain. Okay. Yeah. Talking donkey, resurrection from the dead, walking on water. Enoch was taken into heaven. Yeah. All claims without evidence. Hey, Iron. Good to see you. Yes. If God actually demonstrated himself, apologists wouldn't be needed. In fact, if you postulate the omni-God, apologists shouldn't be needed. He should be able to. Yeah, it's a rhetoric. It is the thing about apologists is they keep putting out their claims as if they're evidence, and it's like they don't know the difference. I don't know. It could be, but the thing about God, I think God is the ultimate catfish. At least the way preachers present him, because he's this loving dude that will solve all your problems, get rid of your sin, all this other crap. And then you get into a relationship with the guy and he's an abusive prick, okay, that demands you both fear him and love him at the same time, the very essence of a sadomasochistic relationship. You think this nice, loving guy, and then you find out he's into bondage and not where you are allowed to have a safe word either. So it's that kind of difference when you really get down to it. He died for somebody's sins, but not mine. All right.
Cosmic magician here to entertain us. He is God Almighty, sovereign and holy.
Also, all claims without evidence that the Bible gives. I mean, it's a fear-mongering tactic to say somebody is sovereign and holy and you shouldn't question them. Every dictator, evil dictator, has probably said something or done something to that effect. So I'm not really sure this is a great argument, dude.
He owes us nothing, yet he's already given us everything. It's not a.
I don't acknowledge that God has given me shit anymore. Okay, you have to prove he's given me something, and I don't think he has. I think this is all made up. Okay, this is the problem. The problem I have with this video is that it's kind of billed as you shouldn't question God. There's evidence all around us of God's existence. But this is not what this has become. I mean, I'm reacting to this blind, but this has just become another platform to preach the gospel without providing any evidence to the claims. And that's all it's been from start to finish. I'm extremely, extremely disappointed at this point. Okay. So I'm going to let him continue or we're never going to get done with this. So,
about what God has to prove to us. It's about what we owe him.
Whoa. I don't owe God shit. Okay. I don't owe him anything. If you tell God to come down and give me, the receipt of where I signed a contract with him, or I went into debt with him and I owe him something. I think if God is going to demand that I enter into a relationship with him, I've got to follow all the things that he says in his commandments. I've got to love him and fear him at the same time. If these are the things he wants out of me, the least he could do is demonstrate that he exists in some way that I could accept. And Given that he's omniscient, he would know what I would accept. He would know what would convince me. And so I don't know. I'm having trouble. Yes. A solution is offered, redemption indeed is promised, with a low price of surrender of your critical faculties. Yes. I remember when he said that too. It was funny. Funny then and still funny. But yes.
Faith, our trust, and our obedience. Do you remember the story of Pharaoh?
Okay, well, before we get into Pharaoh, if you're going to demand my trust and obedience and all that jazz, you should at least demonstrate that you exist yourself and not have apologists do it for you. It should be something that you demonstrate. Okay. And, it's like this guy is accepting that the relationship is one-sided and that's the way it's supposed to be. So, but here, let's let him talk about Pharaoh. This ought to be good.
In the book of Exodus, God performed miracle after miracle, plague after plague, and still Pharaoh's heart was hardened. That's
okay. Before we get into the whole his heart was hardened, we need to also realize that everything in Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, Joshua, and probably most of Judges is now, there's no way it could have happened. There is no evidence that it happened at all. It is purely grade A. The Bible tells you so. It is pure grade A mythology. Okay. As far as we can tell, there is no evidence that the Israelites were ever in Egypt. There's no evidence there was a guy named Moses. There's no evidence for, what really would have been nice if the Pharaoh was actually named, and then that name Pharaoh had a list of the 10 plagues next to it. That would be proof that it happened. And, and this guy Moses was a leader. You know what doesn't exist? None of that. None of it exists. Okay. God, in writing his book, they wrote it in like 600 BC and they're looking back 1,000 years and they made shit up. Okay. And that's exactly what happened. And the more archaeology, my apologetics professor used to say, well, every time an archaeologist Spade goes in there, another critic dies of the Bible. The truth is quite the opposite. Another Bible verse dies in the fact that it doesn't have any evidence or proof behind it. So, the fact that you're bringing up Pharaoh in the first place is making me roll my eyes, because I know that this whole story doesn't even exist. And that you're missing another part about Pharaoh hardening his heart. There's a moment in the 10 plagues story where Pharaoh's ready to let him go, and God hardens Pharaoh's heart so he can keep on plaguing the Egyptians. At that point, it ain't Pharaoh's choice. It's God's choice to continue to bring on plagues on the Egyptians because, he wants to prove that he's got a big dick. Okay. And, so there's nothing there. So this whole story is missing the mark. I mean, if you're really trying to reach people that don't believe in God for Jesus, this is not the way. Okay. It's not the way.
the danger of living in a state of prove it, God. Even when God does move, many will still find a reason not to believe.
Okay. Well, once again, Pharaoh in the story is a poor evidence because it doesn't say that Pharaoh disbelieved in God. Okay. And he didn't disbelieve in the miracles. He kept going to Moses and say, appeal to your God to take the plagues off. Obviously, he believed in God and the evidence was in front of him. So this is a horrible story to use to make this point. Okay. So there's that.
The issue isn't a lack of evidence, it's a lack of humility. We need to humble ourselves.
Yeah. Okay. So we're going to attack the character of somebody who doesn't believe. We're going to poison the well against them. And that's a good tactic. I mean, I know that this is what the Bible does, and it does it, it's like a constant thing with the Bible to just assume its claims without any evidence. But, that's not arrogance to simply demand evidence. It's just, please prove it to me. They talk about a local flood. They don't talk about a worldwide one. Okay, there's plenty of local flood stories wherever there are local floods. Imagine that. That's weird. But there's no way a worldwide flood happened. Okay, that's mythology. Okay, that's a nice story, but the biggest question, there would be so many things that would have to happen for a worldwide flood to be even feasible that just are impossible. So yeah, I did cut him off there. I know what he's saying, but it's like we need to be humble. Okay, well, you're kind of arrogantly saying that you know the truth and I don't. So how's that humble there? I'll address that. So
Ourselves and get rid of this entitled mindset. God doesn't owe us anything.
once again, you're assuming it's an entitled mindset without actually asking people's motivations behind why they asked the question. The hiddenness of God and his actions, the lack of evidence, is what causes many people to deconvert. It seems like a simple solution would be for God to provide the evidence. If he loves me, I don't get it. But, it's not very humble to assume that you have the truth and everybody else is wrong either. So I'm not really seeing a lot of humility on your side here either, although I think it's
But we owe him everything. The Bible says, humble yourselves before the Lord and he will lift
another claim without evidence from the Bible. Once again, I don't believe your book.
you up, as stated in James chapter 4, verse 10. When we lay down our pride, we begin to see the beauty and grace of God in every part of our lives.
But we're not going to lay down our pride of saying that we know the truth and everybody else doesn't. Okay. Oh, we're going to talk about faith. One of my favorite topics.
Faith isn't about sitting back and waiting for God to prove himself. It's about trusting him even when we don't see everything clearly.
Which then makes faith a very dishonest proposition and a vehicle for self-deception. At that point, you're deceiving yourself in saying that faith proves this to me. But truth, that's not proof. That's not evidence. Okay. It's like that kind of thing doesn't allow me to see everything clearly. It blinds me to the fact that there is no evidence for this God you speak of. That's the problem. Okay. Faith is necessary to deceive oneself when there isn't any evidence for what one believes. It's a deceptive quality. So there's no evidence for Satan either.
Now, faith is confidence in what we hope for and assurance of what we do not see, as stated in Hebrews.
In short, faith is believing in something that has no evidence. Okay. And if that's the case, then I'm going to have faith in Odin instead, or I'm going to have faith in Vishnu instead. Those are equally valid claims at that point. Faith can be used to justify the belief in anything, which is why it's useless. Okay, it's absolutely useless at that point.
Chapter 11, verse 1. Think about it. You trust that car will start each morning you drive?
Yep, because that's based on, physics and chemistry and science. They've created something that when I turn the key or push the button, it comes on. Weird. Okay, and I have evidence of that happening all the time. So yes, I trust it because I've seen it happen and actually have evidence of its existence and that it does stuff.
Chair you sit on will hold you. Why?
Yep. Because every time I sit on the chair, it holds me up. But there have been occasions when I've sat in a chair and it hasn't held me up. That chair didn't live up to the hype, so I guess I'm trying to figure out. Christians say this stuff all the time about how we trust other things, but those things demonstrate why we trust them.
Why is it so hard to trust the God who gave you life?
It's hard to trust something that you don't believe exists and has no evidence for its existence. The chair and the car have both of those things that God doesn't have.
Today I challenge you to open your eyes and see God's proof all around you. Look at the beauty of creation, the sacrifice of Jesus, and the fact that you're still here breathing and alive. Stop waiting.
Yes, all the product of evolution, natural forces, etc., etc. Thanks. Alternative explanation.
For some big show and start seeing the miracles he's already done. The proof is there. You just have to humble yourself and look.
Or you have to delude yourself in thinking that faith is evidence, and it's not. It's not. So there's that.
Let us end with a prayer. Lord God, please forgive us.
Okay, I'm done. I'm done. I'm not going to do the prayer with you, although it would be fun, but I'm not going to do that. I kind of had enough of this guy. And so it's the arrogant, presumptuous, nature of Christian apologetics. So I'm going to kind of call it there. I think I'm done. I'm going to react to this more officially later, so I'll have a more organized approach. But today I just want to do the live blind one, and I can sign to see where this guy is going. So, but thanks for stopping by, everybody. I'm going to call it a night. I'm kind of tired, but even tired, I could debunk this guy a million ways from Sunday. But thanks everybody for coming out. Thanks, Fred, for the free membership. Thanks all of you for being here. It was a great night, everybody. Good night in chat too. I saw it. So thank you very much for that. And as always, live your best life. You only get one go around and then it's over. So you need to take all your time, money, and opportunities and give them to yourself, the people you love and care for, and to make this a better world. You'll be happier if you do. I speak from experience. And as always, thanks for stopping by, and I'll catch you next time, guys.